Jenny McCarthy Show. Oh!
So what did you know about this movie before you did the movie?
I'll tell you what happened to me, which is a terrible thing. I remember the incident because I remember thinking, because the guests were trapped inside this hotel for 3 days without any police or army coming to get them. So I remember thinking, what the hell are they thinking in there? How are they surviving? How are they not all dead yet? And why aren't the police there? And then when the film was about to be made, I was about to go because I work a lot. I'm embarrassed to say, and I abandon my family a lot, and I'm never around them. So we had planned, just so happened, a gap between things. I was off when the kids were off school, and we were going to go to Peru and walk the Machu Picchu Trail. It was a big deal in my family. We planned it all, and then the script arrived, and I just found it unbelievably just devastating, but devastating in its optimism, its kind of hope, because this is a monstrous incident with slaughter everywhere, and at the heart of it were these staff in the hotel who saved these billionaires and millionaires, and they all bonded together and they saved each other. And the terrorists hardly managed to get any people in the hotel. There were 1,000 people there, and most of them got out. And I read this thing, and I said to my wife and kids, I'm afraid I'm not coming to Peru. And it was not well received in the Isaacs household. But, every now and again, the world throws up a story, and if you're lucky enough to tell it, it puts something powerful and useful and great out in the world. Particularly right now when people are trying to sow divisions and put wedges between people. And this real-life incident, not a Hollywood script incident, this real-life incident proved that there's far more that unites us and divides us. And
100%. And we need to show these heroes. We don't hear enough real hero stories. And these people were actually the real deal.
But they did what everyone sees. I think that what's important about this story is they weren't Bruce Willis in Die Hard. They didn't have a pencil like Liam Neeson, have a certain set of skills. You know what I mean? These were ordinary people, and when our backs are against the wall, racial, religious, economic divides evaporate. Human beings are essentially good and capable of good, and we need to hold the middle ground and celebrate tolerance and compassion, because this is a time when we're being told to hate each other. We're being told to hate people because they look different from us, or they pray different from us, they sound different. And actually, that's not what our instincts are as human beings.
I'm so glad you said that. There are more good people in the world than bad. I mean,
the stories were amazing. I mean, the thousands of stories. I'm stunned by the director and the co-writer. They spent a year talking to as many survivors as they could, and reading the transcripts of all the terrorist conversations on the satellite phone because it was taped, and they managed to distill it down to various incidents from various places and tell this story. But there were so many stories of just ordinary little acts of generosity and selflessness. These are not people who took on 1,000 people. The heroes in this don't have any guns. The heroes just have compassion.
I love that. That's a really great thing to say. I'm glad you just billboarded
It's an amazing. I've seen it in 4 different countries now with totally different audiences and completely different cultural backgrounds.
How is it received with different cultures?
Well, New York is the only place where they're shouting at the screen. That was people were screaming at the screen. There was what I felt was a completely inappropriate, spontaneous round of applause for some bit where I say something very rude to someone. And but the manager of the Taj Hotel at the time lost his wife and 2 children in the attack, and he was there last night, even in this New York crowd who were really interactive, and he found it very powerful. He was thrilled that even though it was depicting this instant in which he lost his family, highlighted the heroism of his staff. So wherever it goes, it's not a different reaction, it's the same reaction. They're reminded that we're all the same, and that and that extremists should have no place. That these incidents are going to happen. There's going to be more terrorism. There'll be more. There'll be war. There are all these things that have never gone away throughout history. But our humanity, we need to hold on to our compassion and be reminded in those times, particularly after those times, like after Christchurch the other day. It's pretty easy for the worst kinds of politicians to jump on a moment and turn everyone against someone. To turn everyone against Muslims happens a lot. It's very hard to turn everyone against white supremacists because Donald Trump says they don't exist. But nonetheless, it's at times like this we need to make sure we don't panic, overreact, and start demonizing people.
100%. And do you play a real person in it, or do they use...
Everybody is an amalgamation of people apart from the great Bollywood superstar Anupam Kher, who plays Chef Hemant Oberoi, who is a very, very famous chef in India, and it was his kitchen staff that saved a lot of the people. Dev Patel plays a waiter who is really a conflagration of dozens of waiters who did these things. I play a Russian oligarch who is he's a vulgar, nasty, selfish man who has seen conflict before and is utterly out for his own self-preservation. And there were people like that. He's an amalgamation of people. And as the events unfold, he surprises himself. He behaves in ways that he or people knew him would never have predicted that he did, because that's what happened on the night.
Really? That's what really happened to him?
Yeah, well, he's not an actual person. He's a combination of 2 or 3 people, but there are so many incidents where people did things like this. And people went, wow, why didn't you leave? You could have left. And where people do things that give the lie to the notion that we're all selfish and self-serving.
And can you remind me again how many people survived?
Well, 170 people died, and I think 300 more were injured. They went to the train station first. They opened grenades and machine guns. They went to a Jewish care center. They killed absolutely everybody. They went to a couple of hotels. They went to the Café Leopold and shot it up. But they were aiming mostly for this prestigious symbol of the opulent New India, the Taj. And there were 1,000 guests, and almost all of them survived. I mean, there were, so they've conflict in the film, because we only show one hotel. More people die there than actually died in the Taj Hotel, because I think 32 died and 16 were staff there. But if you add together the numbers from all the hotels, it was in the hundreds, and that's what you see in our film.
You talked about a little bit earlier how there's going to be terrorist attacks constantly, unfortunately. And do you have that conversation with your kids? Do they do shooting drills in schools? Have you had that conversation?
We live in London now, but we lived in Los Angeles, and my kids went to school in Santa Monica, and there were 2 lockdowns because of active shooters while they were there. And they were, under the table. The first time they were young enough, they came out and said, "Daddy, it was so exciting. We had to sit under the table in the dark for 2 hours and not talk." And I went, "Did you? That's an interesting. Why would anybody? What kind of class is that?" And then I found out there was a shooter running around Santa Monica. The second time, they were still not that disturbed, but they weren't that happy about it. And then I was I'm in a series called The OA on Netflix, which I love, and I don't want to give a spoiler away, but there was a moment or an incident in it, and my kids were watching, and suddenly my eldest daughter, who was then about 15, she's now 17, just burst out sobbing, and it brought back. She had kind of delayed shock, realizing how close she was. Now, there wasn't a shooter in the school, it was just in Santa Monica, but
Correct,
realizing why she was under the table. So kids don't really get it, but yeah, it was one of the reasons to leave. It's not a...
She did a connection,
Yeah, and also we have incidents in London. There's a place called Borough Market where people drove into the crowd and jumped out with knives. And my nephew was there. He was a medical student at the time. He ran out and triaged a bunch of people. And everybody knows somebody somewhere in the world. Weirdly, with this film, Hotel Mumbai, it's just one hotel. I've met so many people, not as a course of my research, who were either there or who had a relative there. But that's why this film, look, I don't want to make it sound, it's not it's not a bumper sticker. It's a traumatic and brilliantly depicted, nail-biting film to watch. But ultimately, you take away something optimistic from it. And we need to talk about.
We do.
It's not a worthy thing. It's a big cinematic experience. It's like going on a roller coaster. Roller coasters actually aren't fun, but nonetheless you do them because you go, phew, I did that, and that was exciting.
Exactly.
So the film is, I don't know if it's fun, but it's a huge emotional experience, and we need to make art about these things in our life because they're not going away. Well said. I'm talking to Jason Isaacs. The movie again. We're talking Jesus about Isaacs. I like that version. Thanks very much. That's my dyslexia. The words all move around. Hotel Mumbai. I'm going to keep repeating it so everyone goes and sees it. Hotel Mumbai. The movie opens in select theaters March 29th. I have to bring up the fact because I've got some Harry Potter fans in the room. Mm-hmm. Brittany, you want to wave? Hello. How are you? Isn't she? She's so cute. She went to the Harry Potter place in London. She went to it's amazing. Have you gone to both? Yeah, of course. Well, I went to the theme parks with unfortunately, stupidly, I took a VIP guide with me, and that just drew attention to me, which was a nightmare, so it turned into selfie hell. But in London, in Leavesden, which is not like a theme park at all, it's literally like visiting the sets. They have all the sets and all the costumes and these little videos from the people who built the production design and everything else. It's amazing, and every time they open a new section, they go, "Would you like to come and open it?" And I go, "Yeah," because otherwise I'm not going to see it. But I went there, and there's this magical moment where the wall goes up and the doors open to the Great Hall. Now, remember, I've been on that set like 1 billion times, and I burst out crying. I found it incredibly emotional. Yeah, aww. I love being in those films, and also, it is a magic place, Hogwarts, and mostly, it was a terrible confession here, I don't really care about people seeing things I'm in, because my job that I love doing is making them. I like telling the stories. Of course. But with the Harry Potter thing, even 10 years after the last film came out, I still meet thousands of people to whom it means so much. You know, it helped a lot of people through dark times or lonely times, and they identify with the characters so much. And so I'm aware of the power of it in the world.
I would love to know, like, what is the consistent collective, you know, message people bring to you?
Oh, so here's the bad version. Right.
Okay.
I'm standing somewhere and someone drags their kids up and they go, look who it is. And the kids go, who? And they go, tell them who you are. And I go, hello, my name's Jason. No, but tell them who you are. And I go, well, I'm an actor. Yeah, but tell them who you played. And I go, well, I was in the Harry Potter films. I played Lucius Malfoy. And the kids stare for a second. They go, no, you didn't. And I go, okay. And then the parents go, no, but he looked different. Can you do the voice? And I go, you know, I'm buying toilet paper. Can we do this another time? That's the bad version. But no, the good version is people want to come up. And first of all, they're often shaking or crying or fainting or stuff at a convention, not in the supermarket. And I go, oh, it's lovely to meet you. You know, which is your favorite book? I try and break the ice. And then they literally say, Harry Potter saved my life. And I go, well, that's nice. And it sounds, you know, I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy and not true. And then they'll tell you that there were times that they were suicidal, or the times that their family left them, or that some terrible thing was happening, and they remembered some part of one of the characters' journey in the story they identify with. And that Jo, she's got it's alchemy. She did something magic when she put those words on the page that changed a lot of people's lives.
I mean, you are also, anyone that's blessed in this business to be able to do what they love, create art, but then also share it with people, and then having people recognize you and come up to you. And when you're famous in a good way, you see the best in people. Yeah,
no, that's true. Well, mostly people don't come up to me. Of course, I don't look like Lucius Malfoy. I very rarely travel with an elf at my side, and I don't have your hair. You took the wig back, I see. And and I don't, you know, so no one thinks, well, why is the wizard going to be in my local, you know, Ralph's? And I really very rarely get recognised. When you do things like in Star Trek, I look like me. So that's, you know, and also there's something about television that people feel you're more approachable. So Star Trek, or in the OA, I look a little bit like me as well. And people, for some reason, you're in their homes, in their front room, and they feel like they can come up and talk to you because they own you because you've been in their house.
That's right. And, they know you really well.
But they're invariably nice. I mean, very few people, it does happen, come up and go, you're crap. You should give up. I did have someone come up to me once at Victoria Station in London and go, oh my God, Ralph Fiennes is my total favourite. Will you tell him? And I went, yeah, sure. I can't wait to pass on the message. Thanks.
See, those are the ones that just make me laugh. You know what I mean? Because you got to just laugh about it. What about? Because I do love asking.
Here's the one I get. You must get this all the time. People come up and they go, "Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt." And just occasionally, if my guard is down, I have enough caffeine, I go, "No, you do, but that's okay. Carry on." Because it's bullshit. What the fuck does that mean? I don't mean to interrupt. You're interrupting. You can see I'm having an argument with my wife, or my kids are crying. Like, you do mean to interrupt. You know.
I've done the same thing where I'm like eating lunch with my son, and they're like, "I'm sorry, but can I?" I'm like, "I'm eating lunch with my son. Just hold off." And I'm usually really nice to people.
So what does your son do? My kids literally go into neutral. It's like they're Westworld robots that are switched off. Someone comes up to interact, and they just are in neutral. And then it finishes, and we carry on like it never happened.
Okay, I'll tell you what my son does. My son goes, "What about me? Don't you care about me?"
He's fine.
Anyone will say, "Hi, Jenny," he'll go, "Hey, I'm a person too."
Oh, God, I get none of that. Occasionally they turn to my kids who are decidedly trying to be invisible, and they go, "It must be great having your dad be in Harry Potter." And they look at them like, "Oh, you are fucking idiots. Do you honestly think this is fun for me?"
I love your kids. I do want to know about a little bit. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I love asking actors like yourself. Where was there ever a point in your career where you, where it was the toughest? Where you were like, I don't know if I could do this.
It's always being away. The work stuff is fine. You know, it's really easy to get out of bed and think, why aren't I that person? Why don't I have those choices? Why don't I, you know, and that way madness lies. So I try not to compare myself to other people, or, you know, find out what's happening elsewhere that I'm not involved in. So it's not the work stuff. Work stuff is fine if I keep myself balanced. It's more, how much can I justify leaving my wife and kids at home? And now my kids are teenagers, and how, you know, is that all right? And if I'm turning work down so I can stay at home, which I've been doing for quite a while now, at what point do I think, oh, wait a second, what do I do for a living? I don't make sure their clothes are ready for school and make breakfast, but, you know, my wife didn't sign up to be a dog's body either. She's smart and has a career, and so that's the toughest thing. No one told me when I started acting. So sometimes my agents come in, this is a great job, it's New Zealand for a year, or it's this thing in Vancouver for 6 months, and I say, no thanks. And they go, well, look, that's what you signed up for. And I go, no, I didn't sign up. Like, nope. I was 19 and didn't know what to do and, like, was hoping I could see naked girls in a dressing room. This was not. I did not sign up to be a father who abandons his children. So that's the toughest thing.
I'm so glad you said that, because then I don't feel so bad. But this is exactly why I'm talking to you this way, so I can take my son to school and drop him off and pick him up.
That's a good
I have
answer.
to split the difference, because there's no such thing as balance in this business. Yeah. It's either too much work, not enough, too much.
So when people ask you, as they ask me, they go, do your kids like you being an actor? They go, my kids like having breakfast, getting a ride to the party. They want to know that I've taken the dog for a walk. They don't have to. They have no interest at all in anything to do with my professional life, unless I can get them tickets for something. Hilariously, a couple of weeks ago, my publicist said, you've been invited to the Brits. The Brits is the British version of the Grammys. Everybody plays there. All the big pop stars play there. And my daughter, 17-year-old, goes to gigs all the time. My daughter, who would rather be an orphan, frankly, at the moment, that's a hormonal thing. Yeah. So I said to her, darling, I've got tickets for the Brits. She went, can I take a friend? And I went, no, you have to go with me. And she went, oh, well, who's on? And I told her the list, and I could see this torture in her head, because she really wanted to go, but she certainly didn't want to spend an evening with me. She can't bear to be in the room with me for 2 seconds.
Right.
And she finally conceded, and she was delightful to me till we shut the front door when we got home, and then normal service was resumed.
Exactly, but you know what though? She'll never forget it.
I hope not.
She'll never forget it. Jason Isaacs, you are such a delight to talk to. I'm a big fan of your work, and I can't wait for everyone to see this movie, to come away not only with an amazing message, but hopefully enough money so you can get your kids into therapy for not going to Peru with them.
No, the therapy in the news, they watched the first season of the OA, and then my wife watched it and went, you made them watch that? I said, I didn't make them watch it. And she went, I cannot believe. So, they've watched things that I've been in that maybe are inappropriate many, many times.
So a lot of therapy. Trust me, my son too. I go, don't you ever Google me again, ever. Stay away from Google Images. Jason Isaacs, congratulations on this. Hotel Mumbai. I hope you guys see it. Movie opens in select theaters March 29th. Thank you so much. Come back anytime. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I'll bring you a needle and thread. You could fix that hole in your sweater.
You're funny. You're funny.
Bye.
Thank you. See you later, buddy.
Jenny McCarthy Show. Oh!